A study by New York Women in Communications found that 23% of women actually looked for a new job during COVID because of mental health concerns. Now, it's impacting every role from managers to working moms and even students who say their personal struggles played a major part in their decision to leave.
Yes, numbers really staggering. Something we want to talk about. Joining us now is Brandi Boatner, Vice President of Student Programming for New York Women in Communications. Brandi, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's jump right in. For people that have not met you before, you started a virtual support group at IBM. So what would you say some of the big stressors are that have really become draining for women during this time?
Absolutely. So many things you all touched upon for this segment, just, parenting stressors, just how to deal with day to day, additional workloads. You read that staggering statistic. Well, imagine as we all were shifting and pivoting, someone might have taken on, 2 or 3 roles. So added workload, Zoom fatigue, going back to back to back with all the calls. You don't have time to eat. You don't have time to go to the restroom. Just all of these things really impacted the mental health of women and everyone, in the industry, whether you're in communications or whichever industry, to just how do you deal with the, anxiety and the uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. So, Brandi, speaking of deal, what are some ways you can affect change both professionally and personally as it relates to mental health and kind of being an advocate?
Absolutely. Well, there's a number of things that you can do to advocate for mental wellness. You can talk to your HR department and find out if there are programs or resources that you can utilize. You can join organizations like New York Women in Communications that have like-minded people, peers that you can speak to. One of the things that I love about my role, Vice President of Student Programming, is students, as you all mentioned, have gone through so much with the pandemic. So having a resource for them to talk to professionals who are, undergoing the same thing that they're experiencing. And then also know that leaders aren't, mind readers. I wish we had a crystal ball that we could have predicted what was going to happen during this time, but leaders can't read your mind. So you have to be able to speak up and say, I'm under a lot of pressure. I'm drowning. I don't feel like I can meet deadlines, to really get the support and the help that you need. Also, you can feed your soul and your mind. It is so important for people to remember to do things like yoga or cooking or reading a good book, or someone like me watching reality television way too much. Just something to feed your soul and your mind. And then finally, it is so important to take mental breaks. Mm-hmm. You have to step away from the screen, step away from the computer. You need to get fresh air. Even as cold as it may be, it is still critical to get fresh air and just get some clarity once you return back to the screen.
Yeah, such good advice and things that we overlook until we really desperately need it. So let me ask you this before we let you go. What can employers do to support employees who are struggling with mental health issues?
Yeah, have an open conversation. You need to be able to talk about what you're facing, what you're feeling. Have them, read studies like the Women Heard study from New York Women in Communications to better understand what's happening, not just in communications. I mean, thanks to our partners, Bloomberg and Meredith, we looked at national, what was affecting women, holistically, nationally. But you have to have the conversation to say, look, these are the things that I need. I know we talk about work-life balance, but mental health and just being able to do your best every single day is something that is worth advocating for and being vocal about.
No question about that. That's for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Brandi, for joining us.
Thank you both so much.
Have a great day.